I'm Lauren Rivers, and welcome to the 55-year mission tour. So hey guys, we're back from the 55-year mission tour from formerly known as Star Trek Las Vegas, and I had a good time. I mean, it was our first official trip since this whole thing began with COVID. So obviously most of the conventions up to this point had been canceled, so we hadn't really had any trips for a good long while. But this one went off with a couple of restrictions, as particularly as the Delta variant started to show up. They had us wear masks indoors, and even if you were, they required proof of vaccination at the door. Because we were fully vaccinated, we were able to just show them our cards, and we got a wristband that basically signified that we were vaccinated, and the convention had a couple of I guess expected precautions, like everybody was masked, and if you were partially vaccinated or not vaccinated, you had a different colored wristband, which meant you had to get tested twice during the convention. But I mean, for the most part, I felt pretty safe. Some of the tables where the actors were had those plexiglass barriers, and the flight, you had to wear masks in the airport and on the plane. And let's see, we had a good trip. I'd have to say that it was nice, going somewhere, getting out of the house, and since unfortunately 2020 was canceled. But speaking of cancellations, we had a large number of the guests for the convention cancel in the days leading up to, before, and even during the convention itself, which of course made things interesting because I had to kind of tweak our plans based on which guests were going to be there, because we try and plan ahead. And in a normal year, they don't have that many cancellations. I think like maybe a few guests have to cancel for whatever reason or another. But this year they had at least 30 to 40 cancellations, and it was, I guess it was a little complex. But for the most part, I have to say that the convention handled it all very well. That it was really very easy to switch guests out for another guest at the convention, because normally if you have the opportunity, you can purchase tickets for photo opportunities and for autographs before the convention. And when you get there, if a guest is canceled, you can go to the booth and get it switched out for another guest, which makes sense to me because it probably saves on some of the logistics, because especially like a convention like this where there were so many, it would be, I think, too logistically insane to refund all of these purchased tickets, and then purchase another one only to have the guest cancel and have the process repeat. Because I heard quite a few stories from quite a few other folks at the convention as well that had numerous guest cancellations. I mean, it surprised me when the day before the convention, at least four of the guests had to cancel, and at least three or four of them canceled during the convention. But to the convention's credit, it was very well organized, very easy to switch one guest out for another, and they even acquired additional guests up to, including, and during the convention itself. So I give them a lot of credit for working with such a logistical difficulty. But overall, I'd say it went really well. We got a total of 16 photo ops with Star Trek actors. I collected about 8 or 9 more autographs. as well as a set, I guess you would call it, of a picture and the action figure for Rene Aubergenois, who unfortunately is no longer with us. And for the convention, we returned once again to the Rio All Suites in Las Vegas, which is definitely a nice hotel. They things were pretty much the same, which pleased me. It was nice to be back in some familiar surroundings and especially to be in another city. And the room was pretty much, I guess, similar to the other one. It was mirrored layout, being on the other side of the building, and a little bit smaller. I think just a little bit smaller than our room in the previous year, but it was more than sufficient for our needs. But for the most part, it was a similar room, and we were, as we seemed to luck out, being pretty close to the elevator. I think for this time we were just on the other side of the hall, and let's see. We had a nice dinner Thursday night at Giada. I had the lemon spaghetti, which you can see here. It's a really, really good dish. I mean, one of the nice things about the convention is that there are a lot of restaurants in and around the hotel. Giada was, of course, at the Cromwell, and we took a taxi there and took it back. Last time we rented a car, but we decided this time it wasn't really necessary because we didn't go out and about that much. So, I mean, we ended up saving a lot of money by just getting a taxi to take us to the couple of times we needed to leave the building. And I guess let's see, a couple of things to mention. It's like I went and because I knew Fansets was going to be there, I went and got some additional deltas to add to my collection. This one is let's see, let me see if I can get this in my fingers here. Okay, this one is the third season Delta from Star Trek Discovery for the 32nd century. Um, I was going to buy a couple, I got a couple of them before the convention. This was one of them, which was the Picard Delta. Um, but he wasn't going to have time or money necessarily to do them before the con, so some of them got moved over into my convention budget. And of course, the Picard Delta is somewhat similar, and inspired by the All Good Things Delta, which I got at the convention. This is the All Good Things Delta in my left hand here. And as you can tell from the design, they just kind of chopped off those little top pieces. But they had that, and of course, they were also doing a magnetic version of the visitor badge. This is the badge that Patrick Stewart, Jean-Luc Picard, wears when he goes to Starfleet in the first or second episode of Picard. I think it might be the. Actually, I think it's the first. I could be wrong on that one, but it's been a bit since I've seen the episodes. And of course, I had the Voyage Delta from Quantum Mechanics, and a couple that we had gotten in previous years. But I mean, a couple of things to mention is that. For the most part, I was a little concerned about how the convention was going to be, given that this year it was an unofficial con because the license for an official Star Trek con moved to a different company. So, but really the only differences were cosmetic because they couldn't call it Star Trek Las Vegas anymore because it's not officially licensed. So it was the 55-year mission tour, and some things didn't have to change, like the Leonard Nimoy Theater was still the Leonard Nimoy Theater. But instead of having pictures of the actors and the Star Trek characters, they just had headshots. Uh, let's see, they couldn't use any copyrighted material, no pictures of the Enterprise per se. There was a lot of quotes of Gene Roddenberry in the hallway where previously they had like Star Trek concept art. There was no exhibit of Star Trek props because this time instead they had like Leonard Nimoy's photography and a few other things. They had a photo set that used to be like a Borg chamber, and now it was a Thrall or Threll teleportation unit or something. They repainted the doors which used to be like the holodeck doors to the stage, things like that. But by and large, the convention functioned the same. It still felt the same, and it was pretty much a similar experience, which was very relieving to me because I do like how Creation runs the conventions, and I do like 55-year mission tour or whatever its future incarnations are in Las Vegas. So, I would like to continue to be able to go back as long as that's feasible to hopefully eventually complete my ultimate goal of getting an autograph and a picture from every principal actor in Star Trek. So we'll see how that goes. But so far this past year, despite the challenges of the pandemic, GalaxyCon has been very helpful in collecting some of these autographs. And of course, Star Trek Las Vegas, I got a good amount of photos and autographs as well from that. So, my collection continues, and so far so good. But let's see. As far as the photo ops, for the most part, you didn't have to wear masks. There were a couple of actors that did request to keep your masks on, which I'll admit disappointed me a little bit, even though I absolutely understand. It just was like I was really hoping to be able to not have to wear masks for the photo ops, because to me that kind of at least a little bit defeats the purpose. But you know, um, because of state requirements, any of the indoor photo ops on the bridge set, you had to have a mask on because it was indoors. But the other photo ops they did outside in a little tent, and you could have your masks off. They had a plexiglass barrier between you and a lot of the actors, and I mean, for the most part, the pictures still came out looking really good, even despite the challenges. And even the ones with the masks look pretty good. I can still tell who it is, and I'm still happy to have gotten them. Although I do definitely hope to be able to get a picture in the future without the mask. But by and large, I was very impressed with their setup. I mean, even with the challenges, they managed to do pretty well for getting everything done. And with the pictures, they came out really well. It was largely up to the actor's preference. I think there were just a couple that I know that just kind of like did like the traditional photos where, put their arms around you or something like that. And that was pretty few and far between. This, by the way, is my favorite go-to mug these days, with the lineage of the Enterprise on it, not related to the con in any way, but just a mug I found on Amazon, and it had the Enterprise E on it, so it was like sold. But in any case, the autographs I was pretty lucky on, because most of the ones I got were the actor was just sitting at a table in the vendors room, and those that were here for select times, like Mary Wiseman and Anthony Rapp, I lucked out by just getting there just as they started signing. So I mean, I was able to get in and out pretty quickly, and by and large, it worked out very well. You know, thanks to Shrag, I had the the new folder, which was a zip up binder that he gave me, that I used to organize all of our stuff this year, because Star Trek Las Vegas, unlike a furry con or other conventions, it needs a lot of logistical preparation. So I had all of the paperwork just like I did last time, and I had all the tickets, and I kept everything organized, and our vaccine cards were in there. It's like everything that we needed was in this folder. So I was just able to as like last time, it saves so much hassle just having everything ready to go. So I was keeping on top of the schedule. I kept us on time and where we were supposed to be when we were supposed to be there. And for the most part, even though there were a lot of a lot of those kinds of requirements, it really wasn't too bad. I mean, I asked Shrag, and he said it was pretty good. As far as how everything was broken up, how everything was scheduled. I mean, we didn't have very early mornings. Once or twice, I left the room early just to get things done. But by and large, the con started more or less at 10, wrapped up at 5-ish, and then you were kind of free to do what you wanted. And if there wasn't any place for us to be, I would tell him, you can hear your options, because I kind of like to make things as flexible as possible. But, and it also worked out very well this year that on Wednesday, quite a few of the actors that we were getting pictures with were all in a row. So we were just able to kind of just keep going around in a circle, like a little ride of sorts, and get a bunch of them the first day. And, I think it broke down that over the 5 or 6 days of the convention, we did like 5 photos on Wednesday, 3 on Thursday, 1 on Friday. There weren't any on Saturday, and then we did like 6 on Sunday or something. And it all worked out surprisingly well, despite the fact that it seems like a lot. But the way this convention works, it's so efficient that they get through lines of a lot of people very quickly. And so, I absolutely enjoy, going to Star Trek Las Vegas, and or 55-year mission tour. And I definitely look forward to going back next year. I hope that they have it next year, and hopefully things are more stable a year from now, and there are a lot fewer cancellations because there are a lot of actors that I want to get. And, I really like the opportunity to be able to do that. So hopefully next year things will work out a little bit smoother, and I'll be able to add to my collection. But I mean, for the most part, that's about it. I had a good time. The convention was good, and hopefully, as far as future convention plans right now, it's kind of in flux because I still don't entirely know exactly what my situation is. It's hard to kind of make long-term plans right now because I don't know. I don't know what the scenario is going to be for right now. I haven't had any interviews in a bit, but I'm still on unemployment, which should keep me floating for the rest of the year if it's necessary. And I mean, we'll see. I'm taking it one step at a time, but things are under control for now. At least I guess the only thing that I know is on the books for certain as far as con-related stuff is I have a video chat scheduled with Claudia Christian in a couple of weeks, so that'll be fun because I've always been a fan of Babylon 5 and we've been going through that show again relatively recently. Um, but I mean, that's about it for now. Let's see, I guess there's more stuff to talk about later, but I will wrap this up and I will catch you guys later.
Thanks for watching, and if you liked it, click the subscribe button and leave a comment below. You can also find me on Twitter and a few other places on the web, or support me via Patreon or Ko-fi. Zebra hugs!